Stormland is the newest VR title from Insomniac Games, and if it's their last game, they go out with an absolute bang because they've recently been purchased by Sony, so we'll see what the future holds for them. But I really do hope they continue to do it because what they've done here is create one of the most bombastic and enjoyable action-filled games I have played ever on VR. In Stormland, you are a robot and you explore these islands that are connected on cloud-like structures or worlds, and you figure out this evil race called the Tempest who have basically tried to destroy the Spire and use you and your team to get the connection to it. So what you must do then is you must travel through the islands and through these massive cloud-like worlds or structures to stop them. And that's really where only the game begins, because once you finish the 5 hour or so campaign, it basically acts as a tutorial, because the game will then restart as a cycling world, which could potentially lead to endless replayability of this game. And that's one of the most exciting aspects of it. Unfortunately, it won't be touched too much in today's video since the game is just released and I haven't had the chance to play through many cycling worlds yet, but I will make a video later on to go through that and see if this is a game that you can basically play endlessly or on a reoccurring basis. But for today, we'll go through the major aspects and features of the main Stormland game. So what you do is you travel from island to island completing quests, and once you do that, you'll unlock different abilities both for your arm, you'll unlock new weapons, and you'll unlock new ways to not only fight Tempest but also traverse through the world. So you don't just walk around, you can very quickly, you get enough gadgets come pretty quickly, you find them in the world or characters give them to you. And this will allow you to do things like climb, like boost on the cloud, like sea, and then also to be able to fly, and a lot more like a visor and a map. And this all comes pretty quickly. So like I said, the start of it is like a 5 hour campaign that acts like a tutorial. But in that time, you will explore a few different regions that all look fairly different. I'd like to see more diversity, in which could happen in the cycling world, but as this, it's fine. But what is an absolute blast is the locomotion, how fast you move. But what's most surprising is I am one of those people that get motion sick fairly easily playing VR. Over time I've gotten better at it, but some games still get me. I encountered none of that here. I have played this game for multiple hour sessions and never once did I get that sense. And the thing is you will pull yourself up sides of cliffs looking up at overhangs, you will jump off, and then you can glide and essentially fly anywhere around the world. You can then move really quickly on the clouds and then run around and jumping and like basically anything you can do, you will. Like you can jump around and spin real quick and everything, and never once did I feel any locomotion. I have all of the assists turned off, so no vignettes, no snap turning or anything like that. It's all turned off and it felt incredible. It is one of those things where if you see it in this video, it may look cool, but playing it is a whole other thing entirely. It is just spectacular, to the point where just exploring is enough fun, never mind the actual combat or the puzzles or the missions at hand. You just feel incredible as you climb up a wall, jump, glide, and then when you actually use that then in combat scenarios, to call yourself a badass is a bit of an understatement. It's just one of those most empowering moments I've ever had playing a video game. So like an example is I may be across on a different island, I look over and I see a number of Tempest enemies all sort of surrounding an area on patrol or whatever, and I scout how many there are, and even at sometimes you get used to sort of seeing what kind of enemies they are, what weapons they may have. So I would look over, I'd take out a grenade, I would jump and I'd start to glide, I'd throw a grenade in one direction, I'd pull out my weapon, and as I'm gliding and flying in towards them, I'll pull out my other weapons and just start gliding towards them and shooting them and taking them out, and there's something incredibly satisfying that by the time my feet hit the ground, they've all been taken out. And you can also do this in other situations, like if they're at a cliff edge, you can climb up the cliff edge, and allowing the visor, you can turn off your visor on and off by touching your head. And what you can do is you can see the outline of the enemies, and what you can do is, or what I did at least, is I'd climb up the side of the cliff. I would just sort of hang out just at the top of it, just before they could see me, and I would pull myself up, and the harder you pull yourself up, the higher you go. Pull myself up, I would then use my left arm's ability to shock the enemy, and then I would shotgun them as I land. And like I said, this game creates so many opportunities for really incredible and satisfying shooting moments and action moments that I've never encountered before in VR. Like, there have been games that create really fun and cool like set pieces, but this is all dynamic, and the fact that you throw in a dynamic and procedural world, and what you've got is just the potential for an endless loop of insanely enjoyable gameplay that is very hard. It's unmatched in the VR space, and even in a controller-based game, something like this would feel so incredibly satisfying. And from the developers of games like Ratchet and Clank and Marvel Spider-Man, it's not really a surprise when you really think about it, but it is commendable to see this type of satisfying gameplay be done in the VR space. You will progress through the game by picking up resources called Ally. You will use this to unlock prototypes or blueprints of weapons like SMGs, carbines, shotguns, grenade launchers, miniguns, and more. At the start, you will only have 3 versions or levels to this, but it does go up higher, and with the constant cycling world, there's always potential for things to increase and increase. Some maybe not too dissimilar to a game like Destiny, where as time goes on, you may get power levels or anything like that. It's not been in the game so far, and it may not be. It just feels like a game that could introduce something like that to keep the game basically endless. I want to see more of what the cycling world does before I really cover it. I'll do a separate video just simply on that. But there are some shortcomings. So as you go through the game, you'll eventually find a way to holster 4 different weapons, 2 at your side and 2 behind your shoulder. The unfortunate thing is, a lot of the time when you try to pick stuff up off the ground, you may pull out your weapon at your holster, and if you're moving around, because you can do things pretty quickly, that if you do it pretty quickly and start moving along, you can end up just dropping your weapons. And it's happened a few times when I'd be getting stuff ready for the next battle, the next encounter. I would then try to pull out a weapon and realize I've already pulled it out and dropped it somewhere along the way. It's not perfect, and it can get a bit frustrating, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just the position of the holstered weapons, as well as just putting your hand down to your side to pick up stuff. It may not affect everyone, but it definitely happened to me, and it was a bit frustrating. And the only other downside I really have to this game is that the procedural world layout isn't perfect. There've been plenty of times, or at least enough times, to notice and talk about it here, that things like trees would be in the ground, items and boxes that you can get like weapons and ally from would be under the ground or in the ground, and I just couldn't get it. There were times when enemies would drop these canisters. So there's canisters, they will have either ally energy for your left hand's abilities, or health, or ally. So there's been times where the enemy would drop it and it would go in just straight under the ground, and I just couldn't get it. And when you're getting later on in the game and you've had a tough battle and your health's fairly low, like your health doesn't recharge, it can be a bit frustrating to know that you're now at a disadvantage because of the game like screwing up a little bit, I guess. But other than that, this game, like, it's not like, overall as a game, like, Oculus have made they've released 2 incredible games in the last month or so, with this and Asgard's Wrath. This game isn't as polished as Asgard's Wrath. It isn't as big in scope or production values, but what it is the best, in my opinion, the best action shooting game I have ever played, as well as locomotion and movement. And to be able to have the two of them happen in this game, it's an essential play because of how much they've accomplished in this game, and I'm excited to see what comes in the future for this game. It's just, and I didn't even mention it, I probably will in the cycling world, is everything can be played in co-op, and it's seamless and it works perfectly, and it's just an absolute blast to play. It is the best and most enjoyable action VR game that's available today.